everyone, this is a video explaining how to play controller on Strinova / Calabiyau since people keep asking and I keep getting DMs about it. So I'm going to go through it in this video. For both the Strinova current beta that ends on the 30th of June and for the CN version Calabiyau. So just first of all, if anyone is playing the beta for Strinova, the first thing you need to do is go download a program called Reswad. I will link the website down in the description where you can download it. Unfortunately, you cannot use the Steam controller configuration for the playtest. I've tried it, it doesn't work. If anyone's able to make it work, please let me know. I've not been able to get it to work whatsoever. So unfortunately, for anyone that is hoping to get an easy way of doing this, you can't. But once you download Reswad, there is a point in the video where I do explain how exactly you can do it for the test. But as of right now, this is specifically for the CN version and how to get this working. So for any of the beta testers, skip forward to the video to where I explain how to do Reswad. That's going to be at the very end of the video. As of right now, I'm going to be doing the CN client first. So for anyone playing the CN client that wants to play on controller, what you're going to need to do is going to go on Add Game, add an on Steam game, browse this PC, local disk, program files, Calabiyau, and Calabiyau game. You're then going to choose this file. It's going to automatically put it in here and it's going to tick it and you're going to click add selected program. Once it pops up in your list, or if you don't see it, you can just search it. You're going to want to just favorite it, do whatever you need to do, and you're done. Then once you click play, it's going to skip the normal launcher that you'd use to log in with. And it's actually just going to open the game immediately. You're then going to get the option to log in through QQ or WeChat. Use whichever one and you can just log in as normal. Okay, so once you're in game, and this is specifically for the CN client, not the Strinova beta, and also this method will also work for the global release, I believe, if they're still not in support. As you can see, everything's working fine. This is my control layout. It's working all good. Now, when you load in, none of it's going to work. Only the two analog sticks are going to work, and the right analog stick's going to move very slowly, probably around this type of speed, and the left joystick will work. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just immediately press Shift-Tab. Now, yours is not going to look like this. It's most likely going to look something like one of these. It's probably just going to say Gamepad and have nothing else there. Now, what you can try and do, if you want to make this easier, once again, it's kind of luck, is you're going to want to go into the communities and click show layouts, or you can go in search and just search for either this config or another one. I have another Steam profile that I also posted the same config on. It may not show. If they do show, great. You can use them, you can click apply, and you're basically done. You can just skip forward ahead to where I show the in-game keybinds. If it doesn't show, you're going to have to do the long process of manually going through and binding all of these keys. So once you're here, let's say you're just on a normal gamepad, all you got to do is copy exactly everything I have here. Okay, so hopefully when you get here, okay, there we go. You can click on this, you'll get all of these. All you got to do is, if you see key bindings on whatever how I've bound, obviously it's keyboard, mouse one is mouse, gamepad is gamepad. All of these ones are completely fine, you can ignore. So you're just going to want to copy all of these exactly the way I have it. But triangle, you can change to whatever you want. It doesn't have to be J. I don't use J on my keyboard, which is why I have that selected. If J is in use and you need something other bound, you can choose whatever you want. It's completely fine. Everything else I'd recommend keeping the exact same. This is the D-pad options. Once again, just copy all of it. Triggers, copy all of it. Joysticks and trackpad. If you don't have a trackpad, you're going to need to find something else to bind. I'd personally look through, try and find something that you don't necessarily need. Maybe caps lock to open the mini-map, or the ping button. Maybe even the buy menu if you want to, press the keyboard to do it. But yeah, so if you don't have a touchpad or the extra buttons, unfortunately, you're going to have to find a workaround. Now, the important part is when you get to the joysticks. As you can see here, the left joystick just says joystick. It's emulating a normal controller and you can leave that alone. But the right joystick is doing a mouse. Now, the reason I have done this, and the reason why you have to do this, is because if I change it to a normal joystick, you'll realize that it doesn't really work. The reason why it's working now for some odd reason, I guess it's not saving. The problem with running a normal joystick is that it's capped, and although it's working for me for some very strange reason, I'm not sure why. If you test it yourself, you will see what I'm talking about, where you will not be able to move the mouse at all. Your joystick will just be super slow and you can't aim with it. If you're able to figure out a workaround, I'd suggest, using that, because the problem with emulating a mouse on the joystick, which is a joystick mouse, it's really hard to make precise movements. But anyways, you're going to go joystick mouse, and you're just going to copy all of this. Now, if you want to change your response curve, feel free to. This is all personal preference. The same with dead zones, and the same with mouse sensitivity. This is just what I personally use. But these are the binds you're going to need. So once you've had that, you're pretty much done. You're good to go. You can go, save your layout by going to this thing and click export layout, share it with the community, do whatever you want to do. And that will save and it'll be there permanently. Now, once you go on game, most of the binds should work. Maybe you'll press triangle and realize it's not working. The reason why is because you need to now go in these settings and you need to reconfigure all of this. So I just recommend copying exactly what I have, because this is what I use on my controller. So just copy my binds exactly how they are. This is going to be your battle one, and you're going to go in here. This is shift aim, you want it on hold. This is right click. You're going to want right click on toggle, not hold, because if you have it on hold when you're trying to aim with a right analog stick and you're holding it down, it's going to screw you over. So have it on toggle. Now, your grenades, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ignore this. This is just my mouse 4 and 5 for if I play keyboard or mouse. But 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to want J on this top one. You're going to want to make sure that J is on the top one. If you have 2 binds here, you can just use J. So just get rid of both of them, or whatever your preferred button is. You need to make sure it's on the top one, and you need to make sure this is flicked to the right. Having it on the left means it will cycle through your weapons and tacticals. Having it on the right means weapons only. You want this on the top one. The reason you want it on the top is so when you're using your nades and you press triangle, it will always equip your primary and not your secondary. If you have it on the bottom option for previous weapon cycle, it means it will always equip your secondary weapon instead of your primary. Other than that, if there's any binds you want to copy, it's all here. This is middle mouse button. And everything is here. But you basically have everything that you need. And for my sensitivity, this is exactly what I use sense-wise. This is my personal preference. Feel free to change all of this around. I'd heavily recommend also changing these options. This is your aiming states. It's very important. And to also keep your vertical at around 0.40. I have that a bit lower than usual. Yep, that's what I usually use. Sometimes I play in around 0.20 if I'm playing shotgun with VMRs. Once again, it's complete personal preference on what you like most. Higher sense is obviously going to be a bit harder to track with. It's going to be a bit more difficult, but once again, it's all personal preference. So feel free to play around with this as much as you need. And feel free to change anything you need. But I hope you guys enjoy the controller. I hope you guys have fun. Okay, so for the Strinova beta test, this is only specifically for the beta, and huge disclaimer. If you're watching this when the full game is out or whatever, please ignore this part, because this part will most likely trigger an anti-cheat in the global release in October, or any other version you're playing of Strinova. This side is probably blacklisted. As of right now, the beta has 0 anti-cheat, so this method of using a controller is completely fine, but as of right now, this is the only method. You cannot use the Steam overlay on the Strinova beta for some reason. I've tried to use this and configure this. It does not work for some reason. I've even tried to launch the game through its exe file and completely bypass the client, but then you can't log in, and it just doesn't work. If anyone gets this to work, please let me know. I tried for ages, I couldn't get it to work, so this is the only method. Now, what the software you're going to need is a software called ReadWASD. You can just go on Google, you can download that, and you'll get that information from there. It's very easy to download. You don't need to buy anything. There are upgrades to this, but you won't need any of this. Once you've downloaded that, plug in your controller. You'll see down here, you'll get all your input options, your keyboard, your mice, your controllers, everything will be down here. All you want to do is click on your controller. You click on each part of the controller. You click on this drop down and you'll get all these options. Now, if you want to navigate easier, you can turn these off, which will only show keyboard bindings. If I only put mouse off and turn keyboard off, you'll only get mouse options. So all you need to do now is just basically copy exactly everything I have here. If you want to change this around, this is completely fine. I'll go more in depth of what you also need to change in game. But this is currently what I use. Now, if you don't have a PS5 controller and you're not able to bind mouse key 3 and 4, you can simply use your start buttons on the controller, the middle button, whatever you have. If you've got paddles, you can use paddles. Honestly, you can get rid of, you know, stuff like D-pound down for tab. You don't necessarily need to see the scoreboard. This is also for the mini-map, and this is for me to ping. So if you can, you will have to change some things if you don't have the extra buttons on your controller. Some keys are not necessary, some keys are. But this is everything you need to copy. Now, for the joystick, is you're going to have to basically emulate a mouse because there is no controller support for this game. You can plug a controller in, go into game, and it will work. You can move with your left analog stick and you can look around with your right analog stick, but it will be super slow with the right analog stick and you won't be able to aim. It will basically be impossible, and there's no way of configuring it, and there's no buttons bound, so you can't use any other buttons than just the analog sticks, which is why this is the only method specifically for the Strinova beta, not the CN version. The CN version, you can actually go through Steam and use the Steam overlay, but copy this exactly. Joystick wise, you just want to go around the analog stick. For clicking in the joystick, you do want it on right mouse button, just to ADS. But you just want up, down, left, right on it. And this is the sensitivity I use. It is on a slider. The advanced is here, exactly, if anybody wants that. But you can just copy my slider. It's a lot easier. Or play around with it yourself, exactly how you want it. And, you know, just how you want it. Now, once you're in game, as you can see, all of it's working. I can swap weapons, get my grenades, I can go paper mode, I can shoot I can move my ADS. I have my ult, I have my abilities, everything's here. I can interact too with everything. I've got my buy menu on circle, jump, it's all here. So, what you're going to need to change in game, now, if you're on the CN version, it's also the exact same. The binds are no different, although I'm still going to show the CN version in the video as well. But these are all my binds. Mainly you want to go in battle because this is where it is. I heavily recommend that everybody use toggle on aim, because the last thing you want to do is be holding down the right analog stick trying to aim. It's gonna, you know, you're moving with the analog stick and you're also holding it down. It's gonna fuck your aim up. So just have it on hold so you can press it one time and problem solved. Everything else is the same, just 1, 2, 3, 4 and everything. Now, for next weapon and previous weapon, you're going to have scroll wheel up and scroll wheel down here. All you need to do is just choose any button on your keyboard that is not in use and just bind it on both like that to get rid of both of them. And then make sure whatever button you choose is on the top one as for next weapon and not previous weapon. It needs to be on next weapon. And then for weapon switch, you need to make sure it's weapons only. If you have it on tactical items, you can have it on tactical items, but I wouldn't recommend it. It just means you're going to scroll through everything. And it's going to make it marginally a lot harder to get to your primary when you need it. So I have it on weapons only, and the reason you have it on the top option is because if you get your grenades out, you'll always switch to your primary. If you have it on previous weapons as an option, it means every time you press triangle to swap weapons, it's going to pull your pistol out instead of your primary. So that is all the binds. That is pretty much everything that you need to do in copy. This is, if you just want to see all my binds entirely, this is everything that I use. Now, for sensitivity, this is the sense I currently use. Sometimes I do swap to 20 cents. Mainly when I'm playing shotgun, I'll use 20 cents. I find 10 the most consistent to use, but 20s is still very doable. Once again, this is personal preference. Some people might find this too low. Some people might find it too high. This is just my personal preference. I found in to play the best.